You are now listening to the iWalter Show. Real talk about nothing.
Faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Look, up in the sky, it's a bird brain, it's a plane, it's iWalter. Yes, it's iWalter, strange visitor from another planet who came to Earth with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men. iWalter, who can change the course of mighty rivers, bend ears with his annoying voice, and who, disguised as Walter Interranti, mild-mannered janitor for a great metropolitan newspaper, fights a never-ending battle for truth, nonsense, and the American way. And now, another exciting episode in the adventures of iWalter.
Hey, good morning, everyone. This is Walter. It's Thursday morning. I'm going to do this for a few minutes because it is actually going on 4 a.m. On this Tuesday, July 21st. I'll probably just go through a few segments that I posted on my Facebook page. Discuss my night a little bit. I said I was going to do that. I told a friend I would, but it's actually just too early in the morning. Anyway, I'll just go through quickly a couple news stories. I just found out yesterday that TV show I used to watch called Holliston. Adam Green decided to do a third season now. It was on this channel that no longer exists. I'm trying to think. It was called TheorNet, which basically, again, it got basically taken down by the cable network. So Holliston really wouldn't have had a chance to come back. I think it's going to be an online deal for the third season. Adam Green's a director, by the way. He did a couple different movies. His one was called Frozen, not to be mistaken with the cartoon. He actually did it, I think, before that cartoon. About these people that go on a ski lift and get stuck. It was actually a really good movie. So, so again, I'm making it short and simple. I got to go to bed soon anyway. One on my dark side would be there was a story on Daily, the Daily Mail. I'm going to double check, make sure. Yeah, it was actually on a Daily Mail, and it says ICE is developing suicide chickens. Basically, now they're basically strapping bombs to chickens or hens. So you can see that. Again, I'm just making it simple so I can get to the point, let people go. Yeah, there's some dark stories, too. No puns intended, because one's actually on the Dreamin' Demon. Police looking for men who gang-raped women in front of their boyfriends. That's in Detroit, and it's a sketch of a black African-American. Again, I'm keeping these short. If you want to read them, check out my webpage. Another one from Dreamin' Demon. Tiffany Collins accidentally cuts off her 2-year-old son's foot with a lawnmower. That was in Spring Hill, Florida. The 2-year-old boy had foot amputated after his mother, 33 years old, Tiffany Collins, accidentally ran over his leg with a lawnmower. If you're interested, on bloodydisgusting.com, this is new photos of the Walking Dead zombies are pretty disgusting. I assume they're talking about maybe not The Walking Dead. It does say Walking. I thought they might have meant the prequel they were actually going to be putting out. It's actually shot in L.A., I think, to The Walking Dead. There was a story, my local ones. Pennsylvania State Police drunk driving suspect found naked on barn roof. Holidayburg State Police say the drunken driver suspect ran away from the scene of a central Pennsylvania crash, but was found on a nearby barn roof naked. That's my local paper, by the way. This was kind of actually caught my attention earlier. It said Rob Zombie teases potential Lord of Salem sequel. Now, people either hate or like it. Some people, I think, agree with me. I think a friend didn't believe me at first, and he did some research, and he actually proved it for me. That some people thought of Lords of Salem as almost, similar to The Wicker Man. And I really liked it. I actually told Rob Zombie the one time I did get to see him that I really enjoyed that film. And I've seen it at horror conventions that people actually will bring the Lords of Salem if other actors show up for horror flicks, because you won't see Rob Zombie that often. And that's usually what they get to try to get signed. Because I thought it was a really good movie. I liked it. Rob Zombie's movies, don't get me wrong, are very quirky. But if I would have to pick one, I think Lords of Salem would be on the top of my list for him. Not for all movies. I'm just saying for the movies he had done, worked on. Anyway, it was pretty funny, I guess. There was that movie I still haven't watched that I downloaded. You can buy it cheap now. There's this woman. She's actually pretty damn hot. I don't know how to say her name. Main character in the movie called Nurse 3D. Star Paz de la. Anyway, she was in some other show. I know a friend knows who she is. But that movie, Nurse 3D, the main woman now, she's claiming she can't get any other movies after doing that. So she's now suing that movie producer or that movie, whoever made that film. It's on bloodydisgusting.com. She's suing for $55 million. Yeah, I guess, because I can't even say his name. It's really difficult. Douglas, I'm not going to even pretend I know how to say it. Nurse 3D ruined her career, basically. I hate to say it, she's a horrible actress to begin with, and the main thing she had going for her was her looks, and I know she kind of let herself go by the wayside for a while there, and she put on like a mass amount of weight after doing that film. And I think that's just her craziness is what had finished her career, not that film. So the film was kind of interesting. It was bad, but it was not, people like horror movies that are bad horror movies, especially when you have a really attractive looking woman in there. So anyway, there was another one on Norristown Times Herald. Said Norristown shooting victim hospitalized with non-life-threatening head injury. A man was hospitalized with what police officials described as a non-life-threatening injury after being shot in the head near Cherry and Marshall. I'm not going to read the rest. I'm just going to read the highlights tonight because I just want to go on and get off the air quickly. Normally my shows are about an hour. There was one I found on OpposingViews.com. Disturbing new ISIS video shows a child beheading someone. Yeah, I'm not going to go into that one. I just think it's getting crazy with these jihadists. I mean, I don't know why. We just have a horrible president. Just in general, our government is laxed. And even though we have majority Republicans, I don't think they're really stepping up the plate to try to fix this issue. We really just need to reassess our government as a whole, the whole setup of it. There was one I could not play at work. I was trying to. I actually found it elsewhere, and it's Kung Fury. Kung Fury. It's a parody that Howard Stern really liked. It's on howardstern.com. That's a rarity to actually mention him, and it says Howard raves about Kung Fury spoof. And it says Howard Stern, watch the spoof film Howard Stern was raving about this morning. So apparently on his show he was talking about this movie called Kung Fury, and it is a spoof, but if you look deep enough just for Kung Fury, it's a half-hour, short movie or whatever you want to call it. It's a parody, It's pretty funny. I kind of highlighted it once I found it elsewhere. My job wouldn't allow, when I guess they saw the word howardstern.com, they right away blocked it. So I was able to find it without putting his name in there. Yeah, if you want to see some morbid stuff, by the way, it's on OMG. I guess it's for Oh My God, buzzpopnation.net. And it says, I would say, hey, check it out. Even check my blog page out, my Facebook page. It says, what is the scariest photograph ever taken? What was the scariest photograph ever taken? And it says, these photos are pretty scary. Proceed with caution from OMG for Oh My God, Buzzy Pop Nation, .net, not .com, .net. And they are pretty frightening pictures. The one, because I did look through them, one is a shark, great white, looks really vicious, just barely breaking the surface of the water, and it'd make you shit your pants, trust me. Another one is actually, I guess, I forget which country it was. I think it was one of the first ones. I might actually take a look. No, it wasn't the first one. The first one was, number one was dead people, decapitated heads. Second one was the face of a meth user after 10 years. Third one was a ditch of Jewish deaths. And there was one, number 4 was a lynching in America. These are very disturbing, I'll let you know now. Number 5, yeah, I can't pronounce that name. I know my friend made a joke about that, yeah. But I would say look at these pictures, because what they actually do, these people from this other country, every so often they change the dead's clothes, the deceased clothes. So you got these decomposed bodies where they actually, every once in a while, they change their loved one's clothes. So again, it's not a very pretty sight. I guess that's just that was the one I basically wanted to mention. Yeah, another bad one, if you get easily upset, was number 6, concentration camp. It shows concentration camp victims. Number 7 on this page was children of war, and they're actually running from something, and it's pretty disturbing. 8 was beaten to death, Muslims beaten a Hindu man in Bangladesh. Again, these are very morbid. This one I don't understand, but it is pretty gross looking. It says inside a camel's mouth. Yeah, it's not a very pretty sight. Number 10 on this list was September 11th, 2001, and with our attack on the U.S. Number 11 is the one with the great white shark surface in the water. It's not a very lovely picture. Trust me, it's pretty disturbing. Number 12 is the burning monk. It's called Vietnamese. Basically, a Buddhist monk set himself on fire back in 1963. It's a photograph of that. And that was the last one, by the way. So I don't have to give you any more morbid stories on that one. I did put in my mix. I told a friend that I actually bought this online because it's already, I think, probably been pulled from the shelf. So it was from GQ, and it says Lucasfilm is pissed off about these Amy Schumer Star Wars photos. She actually looks really good looking, but she's basically doing sexual things to R2D2 and C3PO and some other scenes, and it's kind of funny. She's got a vulgar way about her to begin with, but so that's the whole intentions. But it was supposed to be an August issue of GQ, so I kind of looked in a couple of stores, and I knew it was going to be really difficult to find. And you got to remember now, Lucas is no longer owns Star Wars, because they sold it. Excuse me. Oh, sorry, you can tell I'm tired, folks. They sold everything to Disney. Disney now owns Lucasfilm, so yes, they're going to be very pissed off because they're Mr. Wholesome. They're Disney's Mr. Wholesome. Anyway, a woman at work that I work with, she was happy about this, but Xena, the Warrior Princess, they said they were planning to reboot it. I really don't think that I can't remember the actress's name. Actually, I was surprised, but Sam Raimi's was involved in that. So he's actually going to be involved with it again, obviously. He actually did that Hercules and the one with not Sam Raimi, but the main character in Evil Dead. I'm going to have to look that up real quick. Bruce Campbell. Sorry, I just had to think for a minute. Yeah, Lucy Lawless. Yeah, she was really hot, but I mean, she's not old. I just can't imagine. And I did read one article that says they're going to probably get somebody else to do, either they're going to do something else other than Lucy Lawless, or they're just going to have somebody else play Lucy Lawless. So I have no idea. But I just figured I'd mention it. Anyway, short and simple tonight because I got to go to bed eventually. And I'm not going to be up until 6 in the morning. But I just wanted to also mention, I'd have to say, I told a friend, and I said I'd mention it, but I guess what I would call a rude awakening. But, I've had my series of depression since I was probably 12 years old or before. I've had issues with depression and suicide. And a friend doesn't understand, he here listens to this, so that's why I'm trying to clarify this. He wonders why I never moved out of the house or have no ambition to move out, that I just, so please, for the friend, don't take this personally. I try to explain it to him, but I don't want to leave him a lot of messages, so it's kind of geared towards him. But people, he should know me. He's known me for over 20-some years now, almost 25 years, which is hard to believe. He mentioned that the other day. And inside joke, I'm going to lighten the mood for a second. Hopefully you get your Ultraman mask someday. So I'm just trying to lighten the mood to make sure he knows I'm not trying to single him out. I would never do that, trust me. And trust me, most of the stuff I say when I'm ranting and raving about people in general, my friends, which is actually a whole total of 2 in my family, you got to take it with a grain of salt. To me, this is the only therapy I know where I actually get some type of satisfaction out of it. And it doesn't cost me $100 each time I go. Oh, sorry, I'm looking at something. That being said, and I've mentioned this, I'll mention again, I've suffered through depression and also thoughts of suicide since the age of 12. It was something my dad had a hard time trying to accept when I was actually, I guess, 16, when a doctor actually sat him down and said, well, you got to come to grips that your son, it's something, it's like alcoholism or what I have, which is OCD. It's something you're going to live with the rest of your life. And I'm using that word loosely because I don't know how long I'll live. But, it's something like even anorexia or anything else, if you want to think of it that way, maybe you won't. It's something, it doesn't go away. So my thoughts of suicide are always there. It's just the way how I deal with them that changes. So, and one thing that won't help is me just stressing myself out more. So hopefully that makes sense to him. Maybe it won't, because I don't think it makes sense to me either. But, I try to look for things to get my mind off of, suicidal thoughts, but they're always there. And, I remember in the past, and I probably still kind of think this way, if anything happened to my parents, which are the only ones I can actually that keeps my focus off of suicide. I think that day will come when my parents pass away. So I really don't think twice about it. And, you can go to 100 years of therapy and be put on all the medication on the planet, and it's not going to change the way I think about life or death. And I mentioned to a friend tonight, actually, I said, years ago, I worked at this place, Acme Markets in Horsham, and it was this guy who actually, he was like, I think they said, I'm not even joking. I'm not trying to paraphrase, but it is going to come out that way. But I actually scared him. And this was a tough guy. Most people were at work were afraid of him. Again, this was at Acme Market. And why they were afraid of him, because he actually told me, he said one time he caught a friend fooling around with his girlfriend, and he had a gun, and I'm not making this up. And he said, I asked him, I said, so what did you do? Try to shoot your girlfriend? He said, no. Your friend, but that was sleeping with your girlfriend? He said, no, I shot him or her because that's my friend. I'm not going to shoot him. So the man was, I don't know how else to put it. He was just a little bit crazy almost. I don't know how else to put it. Not to say that I'm not. But the bottom line was, he wasn't a person that would got easily spooked, but actually I spooked him. And I think, the reason is because he told me right to my face. He said, and I said this to a friend, so he's just going to hear it again. Some people are afraid to die. He says, you're not afraid to die. You're just afraid to live. You have, so, and he's right. He's not making that up. It's not some thing just to get sympathy. That's just something I've dealt with pretty much all my life, since I was a child. My desire to live is a lot less than my desire to die. So, and it's just something you have to come to grips with. So, how do you deal with something when you know that you have no desire to live? Well, you find things to live for. And unfortunately for me, it's not going to be buying a home. It's not going to be me having a family. I did not grow up like most people. When I was growing up, I was in a mental state hospital from the age of 12 all the way up until the age of 19 or 20. So, and I pretty much spend at least 8 to 10 years in mental institutions. It was a revolving door. I probably, in the course of my senior high school years, I probably would be lucky if I could say I spent a total of maybe a few weeks, not even, at my school. Because most of the time I was at places like Fairmont Institute, Horsham Clinic, Eugenia Hospital, Norristown State Hospital a few times. So I really never had a regular life. My life was inside a mental institution. And it was just because my father couldn't deal with my problems. So that being said, the issue is not me being immature, as most people see it as. And I'm not picking in on anybody, but and my one friend, he's going to take it as though I am singling him out, and that is not the truth, because I get that at work too. So just let him know. I get that same type of feel from some people, like I'm not really acting like a mature adult. Well, I was forced to grow up as a kid at the age of 12. Like when most people were playing and stuff like that, I was in a mental institution, and they told me you need to be more responsible for yourself at the age of 12. My parents had issues, each had their own set of issues, and it always got back to that I was basically, with my issues, kind of kept them together because it had taken the focus off of them. So, again, that being said, what was I going to say? I've dealt my whole life with, having to deal with being suicidal, and basically, that's just something. It's going to, that and OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. I have issues with both. It's something that's not going to go by the wayside. I can pretend it's not there, but it's not going to change anything. I'll tell you that much. Buying stuff as I'm doing my show. Yeah, I'm trying to think what else I wanted to mention. So, I don't know how else to say it, but yeah, it's just something that, and her probably asks, if a friend, when he's listening to this show, he's going to probably ask, okay, so what is your excuse for wasting your money and buying ridiculous toys? And he's not the only one who thinks that way about me. So again, don't take it personally. But why do you buy all these ridiculous toys? Why do you buy childish things? You know what? Maybe it is filling an empty void in my life. But, when I stop thinking that way, I hate to say it. I know bottom line is, the suicidal thoughts are just going to take over. And the medicine's not going to help. I've been on medicine for years, and it never did anything. Not at a continuous basis, but, here and there. Yeah, so, yeah, I don't know what else to say. But what brought this up, you're probably asking. Well, the thing that brought this up tonight was I'm at work, I guess a friend always asks, why am I always complaining about people at work? It's not going to get me anywhere. I'm just kind of guessing at what he's probably going to think. Well, the reason I complain a lot about work is, I guess, because it used to, in the past, a lot of reasons why I complained was I got sick and tired, like different people I worked with, of them feeling sorry for themselves. Because honestly, it might sound like I'm feeling sorry for myself, but I really am not. I really have no desire to feel sorry for myself. In fact, most people, when they're suicidal, they do it out of, they just feel like they have, they're depressed, and, basically depression and stuff. Mine is not out of depression. It's actually more so out of just, like, I just have no reason to live. Like, there's no real reason to live. I hate my job. I work with people who pleasure themselves. I'm not using that figuratively, but pleasure themselves by making me uncomfortable or making accusations. And now a friend is going to say, what kind of accusations are they making? Well, trust me, the comments are lewd and, direct. They don't try to hide the facts. They just try to keep their distance from me. And I can always just blame myself that it's got to be a problem with me, but I've given up even on that. So I honestly, long time ago, I've given up on even care. I do care, but it just drives me more. It drives me more into an anger stage, and my anger just is not a very pretty sight. So I just, I gave up years ago on, like, finding the will to live. So why am I still alive then? And I question sometimes because I see things, again, hallucinations and stuff. I've seen them since I was like 10 years old. I've seen hallucinations of the Grim Reaper and things that I thought were there that weren't. My mother said she claimed she saw things. So I'm wondering if my stay on this planet has just been, I've overstayed my welcome. That's what I almost think sometimes. I really do. But the only thing I guess that keeps me going is the only thing that I actually do enjoy in life, besides buying, as my one friend would say, and people at work, ridiculous toys and computer stuff, which is more of a hobby of some sort, and just it is a way of filling an empty void in my life. But the thing I really enjoy and where I got the most pleasure out of my life was when I met my one friend who actually kind of convinced me about communications and film work and video work. That's when I felt literally the most alive, and I'm not doing that. So, yeah, that's one thing. And actually meeting people. I know one friend will say, why do you're wasting your money on seeing these people. It's not going to get me anywhere. He's actually absolutely correct. But you know what? Again, that's filling an empty void in my life probably. And it does kind of afterwards get me depressed. I will admit to that too. Probably most likely because it's something that I really want to do. More so than anything else is be able to create something. Art is my passion, and I'm not doing it. I really haven't done it. So, yeah, it was funny because actually I'm just going to ramble on tonight. That's what my show's all about anyhow. I'm referring back and forth between two friends, by the way, and some people at work, and I will get back to that too. But, yeah, what was I going to say? One friend, I ask him for favors once in a while. I ask him, hey, can you submit this film to this guy who's was a independent film horror maker? And he said, oh, yeah, I'll give it to him. So I gave him a copy of my short film called the Train Station I did last year. And he never, ever gave it to the guy. So it's like, whatever. So I can't depend on him for anything. So I asked him more than once. I said, hey, this one friend's brother is into haunted houses. Like, he's got this obsession of looking for abandoned homes and believe that they're haunted. So I got to the point that, you know what? I keep on asking him. He just keeps on ignoring me. So I took matters in my own hand. I went behind his back tonight, and I actually texted his friend. My friend and his brother are both on Facebook, and I'm friends with both of them. So I asked this friend's brother right directly in a private message. I said, hey, I hear that you like, you like looking for haunted houses. That's like his hobby. I said, I'd like to do a documentary. Me, you, and his brother, which is my friend, can go around. I'm just going to shoot a documentary of you guys seeking out these places. And he was really psyched. So if I asked this friend, he would act like, oh, yeah, my brother doesn't want to do this stuff. And it was like I asked his brother, and his brother directly told me right out, he says, yeah, I definitely want to do this. So, hey, that's something that's a passion for me. But what got me into this slump and the realization about, something I fight every day, probably just to stay alive. Well, was I go to work and, I work at a place, again, I get paid $32 an hour, and that's like really low compared to what most people get paid. Some people get paid almost double what I do. So if you can picture that, getting paid more than I do at $32 an hour, you can just imagine almost $10 more than I do. And yet these people find every single excuse to get out of work. It just, every day I go into this, Monday through Friday, it gets me really depressed. That does get me depressed. It gets me actually really angry too. So we even have this one girl I was trying to explain. This was part of the problem too. And some people just don't want to hear it. So if you listen to this, I'm not forcing you to listen to me, but if you do, this is what you're going to hear. This is my show. But this one girl, and she gets out of doing a lot of work. She is getting paid more money than I do. And she gets out of doing work, and how she does it is she's a beautiful looking girl. She's like in her early 30s, late 20s, and she looks like she's about 18. And she got every man at work just like drooling all over her. I showed her to one, she has a Facebook page. I showed it to one friend, or he found it on his own, actually. I did show him at one point. I found her. I was like, that's it. I don't need to look at him any longer, or her any longer. And he just went back, and I guess he must be what he accuses me of, stalking her, because I don't bother to check up on her. I just do it. I did it as a joke one time, and yet he still is able to find her webpage. I don't even know where it is. He knew where it was. So the other day, that also got me pissed. He sent me a picture of her, and I said, "Oh, this is where I got in this story about, I'm in love now." And I was joking, but he turned it into, "Oh, you're stalking her." So, in my defense, this friend who said this, because another friend thought I was talking about him. I'm not going to mention her names just for their own protection. But this one friend who told me, "Oh, you're stalking her," and a guy at work said something like that to the percentage, when I said something about this singer I had saw the other night, which I always get her name wrong, Adina. And I said, "Oh, I wanted to touch her dirty pillows." And he says, "Oh, you're going to go to jail for that." And it was like, I'm making a comment, and it's a joke. So, but the friend said, "Oh, you're going to get caught for stalking," just because I said, "Oh, yeah, I'm in love with this girl," because everybody at work seems to be in love with this girl. And I'll explain why in a minute. But this same friend who said this, it would be one of those things that's calling the kettle black, because he's really freaky the way he asks out women. Like one time, I worked at this place years ago, and I told him, it took me almost 10 years to tell him the truth, and he just didn't listen. So he obviously thinks that he does what he does to women and the way he approaches them that really creeps them out. In his mind, he's not doing anything wrong, even though they think he's a total creep. And I hate to say it, no offense to him, because he doesn't listen to my show, so I don't care. And if he is listening, yeah, I hate to tell you, some women think you're really creepy the way you approach them. No offense, but they do. And this is not the friend who will probably take it personally, and you'll find out in a second. I know what I'm talking about, who I'm talking about. But this guy one time, I worked at this place called People's Pottery, and I'm jumping all around. I realize that. People's Pottery, and my boss, this woman, and some other women, because it was all women there except me. We went out to this place. It's like a home brew bar that was over the King of Prussia Mall. And I said, "Oh, can I invite my friend along?" Because he works in the mall too as a supervisor. So now my friend that does listen to me, her know right away who I'm talking about. And they said, yeah, you can take a friend along. That's fine. So I said, "Oh, cool." So what does he do? He makes an ass out of himself, and he starts hitting on my boss. And she seemed like she was going for it at first. In fact, I think she was, but she was also pretty drunk. And then the next day, which I ended up quitting that job because of him, but yet he doesn't remember that. He remembers one time. Anyway, I quit the job because she came up to me and she said, "Yeah, your friend is really creepy, and I didn't like the way he was hitting on me." And I think it was mutual, that hitting on each other kind of deal. But just the same, I think it was not too long afterwards, I quit the job. So it was like, you know what, I was looking for an excuse to get rid of this job, and now you gave me a reason. So I quit because of respect to him. But obviously, he pays me back by insulting me with certain things, like when it comes to women, making sarcastic remarks about my family, but yet he doesn't make any about his family. It's always about mine. And that stuff really does get under my skin. So this one friend who does listen to me, her know who I'm talking about right away. But yeah, I quit a job for him, and yet her still bring up to my face this one time where we worked at this place called WHYY, Store of Knowledge, and he asked me, well, just let me out the back door, don't worry about it. And I said, okay. And he was a supervisor at this job. And another supervisor said, did you just let so-and-so out of the back door, the other supervisor? And I said, well, I really can't answer it. I'm afraid to. And she said, that's all right. Did you do it? I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to punish you for it. And I said, yeah, I kind of did. And she said, okay. And then he got fired. So he's got a history of being fired from many jobs. And some of the times he could probably defend himself, but he didn't. But 2 jobs ago, because he's gone through more jobs than I have, and most of the jobs I have, I've really never gotten fired, I think, except from 1 or possibly 2 jobs. But his last job he did get fired from, well, actually, maybe it was like his last job. He got fired from it because of sexual harassment. So there you go. And I try to stick up for my friends, but this was second time that I known him in my lifetime that he had something to deal with a woman, and he got accused of sexually harassing a woman. So have I ever gotten fired or made accusations of sexual harassment? No, except if I want to be totally honest, there was one time, my one friend will know this, he told me there was a girl that I had taken to a movie theater, and, I was brought up to believe you should tell, be honest about everything. And I was maybe actually way too honest, and I just told her everything about myself and everybody else. I didn't hold anything back, and she got creeped out. And here this girl was a friend of a friend. This is when I was going to Monco College. I apologize if what I'm saying doesn't make any sense. And she told my friend that I had made a pass at her. And I told my mom this too. I said, yeah, this girl, she's creeped out by me because she accused me of making a pass at her. And she didn't even tell me directly in my face. She told me through a friend. And my mom said, well, what's wrong with making a pass at a woman? Well, there's a difference between making a pass at a woman and being accused of sexual harassment. There is on my mind, there is a big difference. Maybe there isn't, but I think there is. So that being said, so he's got a history of sexually harassing women. I can't really say I do. And a friend actually confirmed that. I thanked him. He says, you don't need to thank me. He said, we're both on the same page with that. We're more or less, we're nervous in front of women. We're not, we're a little bit frightened of them even. And it's like, yeah, you're absolutely right. We both are. So again, that being said, this one friend who accused me of the other day, and I'm talking about 2 different friends. I just don't have time to try to explain or organize it out. But this one friend who said, when I said, I'm in love with this girl I saw online, her name, well, I should not say it, on Facebook. He sent me a picture of her, and it was like her and her son. And he said, you better not be stalking her. And it's like, for me saying, I'm in love, I'm stalking her. The man who, and it gets better yet, the man who told me, don't stalk her, this is the same man who is really, he truly is, he visits his parents who live in a different township than he does now. He lives in one township, they live in another one. He is literally stalking this, and I'm sorry, I don't know how else to put it, but again, this is where that calling the kettle black comes in. He is literally stalking this woman who's a hairdresser. He says, I'm going to ask her out. And he bluntly just told her, hey, do you want my phone number and stuff like that? Me and one of my other friend, out of these 2 friends, would never go to a woman and say, hey, do you want would not be that pushy to say, would not take no for an answer kind of deal. Not saying he would, but he's not giving up until he gets what he wants. And he's the same person who tells me not to stalk a woman. So I hope this kind of comes to grips that, comes together, that you can see why I'm so angry. So anyway, this girl at work, she wears these things called compression pants. They're meant for exercising. She wears them as everyday clothes. Spandex pants, compression pants. It pushes everything together and makes her look like a Barbie doll. Today she had on, a sports bra and that. Now that's not appropriate work attire. And she also made sure to have on a really short t-shirt that her belly was hanging practically out. Not that she has a belly. She's really thin with these compression pants and this sports bra on. But she went out of her way to make sure that everybody could see her ass, and you could actually read her bottom lips, if you get the drift on that. So, does that get me angry? It does a little bit, because yet when she sees me, she'll make sure, well, she couldn't today, but I saw her from a distance because I came in from a different direction. We have these things that are meetings at the beginning and the end of our shifts. So it was the end of her shift, the beginning of my shift. I came in from a different direction, so I saw her from a distance. Normally, I would have seen her from behind. But she had on these pants that were so tight, these compression spandex workout pants, that I don't even know how she moved them because they were so freaking tight. So there was one guy in this group of guys that were the whole time his eyes were just staring at her ass. Like it was like if he had X-ray vision, he would have burned a hole right through her anus, because he couldn't get his eyes off her ass. And I've heard this for almost practically the 3 years I was over there. This girl dresses like that. She's a single mom. She's looking for some guy who will hook up with her, married or not married, and take care of her financially. I can tell from just the way she acts. So that just really annoyed me. But then on top of it, you got these guys who will make accusations like the one friend I mentioned to me, yet they're the ones who have issues, not me. They have really serious issues they kind of need to address on how stable is their relationship with their wife if they're checking out this girl who is desperately looking for attention. So that really pissed me off. We have people at work who get paid more money than I do, and they sit there all night complaining about stuff and get away with doing nothing, and I get stuck doing all the work. And I'm doing a different job, so I'm not doing their job. I'm not qualified to do their job, but they're getting paid more money just to sit there, watch movies and TV shows all night long. And tonight they were forced, there's certain work that I am not qualified to do anymore. I'm not allowed to because of work restrictions, and they were forced to do it for me. So how do they react? Well, guess what? They take it out on me by just making, a shithole, or leave, like they do the job I can't do, and in return, they basically leave me a mess that I have to clean up after them, like I'm a subservient to them. And it's like, that just really got me extremely mad. I mean, I do more work than these people and, these females that even are my day shift partners, who I've heard. This one woman, she stuck up for me with my boss. The boss didn't want to hear it. This one woman who has a different job position from mine, she downright told our boss, she said, one of my 4 bosses, yeah, these 2 women on day shift don't do diddly squat. Walter's getting stuck doing all the work. And it was like, He didn't want to hear her. So that was, I appreciate her standing up for me. But, but the bottom line, why did I bring up more people into my story? Because these guys feel sorry for these 2 women. And this is not even the girl who wears the extremely tight spandex and basically walks around like a street hooker. So, but they obviously follow her around like a puppy dog. And these women who don't do any work, they just let them get away with it because, they're women. They don't know any better. It's like, that's an insult to the women there that actually at my job that really do work. I mean, there's some women there that really work hard, and they give the company their money's worth. But, and they're stick up for me 100%. They know what's going on. But the bottom line is, these two that don't do any work, that's the problem that I have. These women who don't want to work, they get away with doing nothing because the guys just feel sorry for them. And they know that they're not doing their job. So these guys are saying, oh, yeah, these women, these two particular women. That, I know I'm not making any sense, so you don't have to write me about that. But we have these two women that just basically get away with doing nothing because they're females, and nobody wants to push the subject. But then, again, for the females that do work, it just makes it worse for them. So that's my problem. So that just came to my realization. It's like, okay, I'm working at a job I really don't like. I already have this issue of, trying just to find a reason of like, why don't I just end my life now? And then when I deal with this stuff, people trying to be what we used to call in the good old days passive aggressive, and they don't know my situation. They don't care to know. But if I was, doesn't matter who I am, some type of female, give or take, because I had one woman I worked with who no longer works with me. She works in a different building from where I work. They used to give her a hard time all the time. They never gave up. Just because they didn't like the way she wasn't that attractive. So compared to the girl who wears the ultra tight spandex. So it was easy for them to just give her a hard time. I mean, really give her a hard time. Some ways she did it to herself, but in other ways they just had no problem of like, okay, well, with her, since she's not that attractive, that goes to that statement too, which is true about men, which they won't admit to, that if you're an attractive girl, they're not going to give you a hard time. And now, the two coworkers I have that work with me on my job, but they do the day. We have two shifts, a day shift and a second shift on my job position in my building. Other areas have actually a first, second, and third. Ours was eliminated because the people that we had at my job position that were third shift were found not doing their job at all and writing it down that they actually, we did our job. They weren't doing anything. So they basically got rid of them. But the people who work in my job position on days really do very little or nothing at all. They document it that they did the work, and they don't most of the time, or they do just a half-assed job. So I am the one held doing all the work every night. And some people see that, but it takes a toll on me. Now, one friend would say, maybe you need to look for some other job before it actually brings me to me just going over the deep end, because I've done it many times at this job. And it's like, you're right, but at this point, it's not going to happen. It's impossible for me to do that. So I wish I could do what he said. I wish I could actually even just quit that job, but at this point, it's not going to happen. It's just physically impossible. So anyway, folks, I was just trying to vent. I'm trying to be more honest than me just reading stories that I'm going to basically mess up. So you know what? At this point, I'm going to probably end my show. I think it probably did go on for an hour. I didn't want to, but it did. So everyone have a good night, and I'll try to be back tomorrow because I'm going to have a short week. I'll be down the shore, Atlantic City, seeing Lady Gaga, but I'm going down early. Everyone have a good morning.